economic strategy taken by Singapore's government in 1970s was trade liberalization, where the government at that time faced macroeconomic problems such as high unemployment rate, lacked natural resources to support its manufacturing industries, and worried over the loss of political and economic support from England's government. Initial public policy issued by Singapore's government to implement this strategy was Economic Expansion Incentives Act, a policy with a purpose to attract foreign investors in order to create new employment for Singapore citizens. It was including tax exemption for companies that gave technological and financial contribution to the country, reduction and replacement of quota system with tariff system, where Singapore's trade tariff was relatively low according to international standard at that time. Tariff reduction at that time can accelerate the Singapore's trade growth as economic growth support. The trade liberalization is based on this principle. First, commitment to free trade based on low protection level. Also, consumer and producer can have direct relationship with international price. Second, work at export growth, especially through infrastructure improvement and selective fiscal policy. Third, open arms policy for multinational corporations was developed. And the last one, macroeconomic policy and monetary market was set toward retaining competitiveness and foreign investment inflow to Singapore, also low inflation rate and domestic price stability. Singapore's economy experienced a recession in 1980 period with a declining economic growth, GDP, and export that made Singapore government change its economic strategy toward national economic diversification. One of the factors behind the economic recession in Singapore was the increase in labor cost as a result of high wage policy. The high wage policy was set to improve workers' motivation as a way to increase value, skills, and technology mastery. Instead, the policy caused the decline of domestic competitiveness that stimulated the recession. The depression in world's oil market and the slowing of the world economy also took part in it. Facing the recession, Singapore's government quickly readjusted its economic strategy policy, and this was the key factor that led Singapore to improve its welfare in that period. The policy taken at that time was economic diversification policy, aimed at the economic activities in information service, trade, medic, and warehousing, also market expansion to developing countries. Goh Chok Tong, the new Prime Minister, has vision to establish Singapore's economy from a new industrial country to a developed country, and manifested into a document called the Next Lab. The Next Lab is a broad agenda for Singapore's long-term development, which includes ideas and proposals to make Singapore a nation of distinction. To mark this new phase in the country's political history and national development, a 160-page book, Singapore, The Next Lab, was launched on February the 22nd, 1991. It was also released as the principal addendum to the presidential address. In formulating the vision of the country's leader and a new generation of Singaporeans, the Next Lab builds upon the physical and social assets developed over the last 25 years for the race into the 21st century. This vision focuses on 8 key areas. First, the people, Singapore's most precious resources. Second, education, an investment in the people. Third, the economy, sharpening Singapore's competitive advantage. Fourth, the Singapore's concept plan. Fifth, the arts and sports. Sixth, caring for the less fortunate. Seventh, Singapore International. Eighth, national security.
Since Singapore was affected by external shock and crisis, it needs fundamental economic change and restructuring. Economic Review Committee, or ERC, a committee founded as part of the restructuring, came up with a statement that Singapore's successful growth model of the past 20 years was not going to be sufficient in the future. The committee presented its short and long-term recommendation on Singapore economic strategy, based on a vision of Singapore as a dynamic global city-state with an entrepreneurial and diversified economy. The ERC recommended short-term adjustment to improve the relative cost position of companies operating in Singapore. The employer's contribution to the CPF was cut to 30%, with an even lower rate of 9% for older workers aged between 50 and 55. The monthly salary cap for computing contribution was reduced from $6,000 to $4,500. Rental rates for government-owned industrial space were lowered. Government-related fees were frozen and fees increase deferred. In 2003, the income tax rate was reduced from 26% to 22% and further to 21% in 2006. Tax was shifted to a goods and service tax, similar to value-added tax in other countries, which moved from 3% to 5% and subsequently to 7% in 2007. In 2004, foreign source income and domestic investment income from financial instruments were exempted from tax. In 2005, the corporate tax rate was reduced to 20%. The ERC's other recommendations were wide-ranging, including expanding economic ties with countries in the wider region, to enhance Singapore's regional hub status, promoting new export industry in education, healthcare and professional service, building stronger private companies through promoting entrepreneurship, attracting global talent and facilitating economic restructuring through worker education and skills retraining. By 2008, Singapore remained the largest container port in the world. NOL, formed by the Singaporean government and majority owned by Temasek Holdings, was among the largest shipping lines in the world, with a market share of 3.6% in 2007. Strong trade, transportation and financial sector can support the acceleration of Singapore's economic in the future.